Hi, besties! Welcome back to the wild, twist-filled world of sister wives, because if you thought Kody Brown couldn't surprise us anymore, think again. It's what fans have been buzzing about for months. The new wife of Kody Brown, not Robyn, not Christine, not Mary, not Janelle, someone new. But while the TLC cameras have been suspiciously quiet behind the scenes, something huge has been happening. Something they don't want you to know. But the truth, assaways, has a way of seeping through the cracks. You see, it all started quietly. A few sightings, a couple of fan photos, and one cryptic comment that Robyn immediately denied. But here's the thing. Anytime Robyn denies something too quickly, the fans know that's when the story's real. The woman being whispered about, let's call her the mystery wife for now, was reportedly spotted near Flagstaff, Arizona. Same area, same stores, even the same church circles. Coincidence? Perhaps once. But 3 times? That's a pattern. And besties, you know I love a pattern. Pause, softer tone. Why would Kody, a man who's already lost 3 wives, his family, and half his fan base, take such a risk? Why did he marry again in secret, while TLC cameras rolled on a new chapter storyline? Well, because Kody Brown has one obsession: control. And when his world fell apart, Christine gone, Janelle out, Mary packing her things, Kody needed someone new to believe his version of the story. Someone who'd treat him like the man he thinks he is. But here's where it gets really interesting. This woman isn't who fans think she is. She is no mere local fan. She's someone connected, deeply connected to Kody's past. And when you learn how this connection ties back to the Brown family's earliest days in polygamy and why TLC has allegedly tried to bury it, you'll understand exactly why the phrase, new wife sends Robyn into panic mode. So, before we dive into who she is, what she's hiding, and how this whole secret marriage came to light, let's rewind. Because to understand this new chapter in Kody's chaos, you have to understand what he lost, and what he's trying so desperately to replace. This isn't a love story. Meet Kody Brown's latest illusion. And trust me, it's about to fall apart faster than any of his previous ones. All right, besties, let's peel back the curtain. Because this woman, the one fans are calling Kody's new wife, didn't just appear out of nowhere. No, she's someone who's been hovering around the Brown family's world for a long time. Before Christine left, before Janelle packed up her RV, before Mary quietly slipped out of the family photo, she was there. You see, back in those early Flagstaff days, when Kody was still juggling emotional chaos and pretending to be the head of a spiritual family, there was always this one face that showed up at church gatherings, community events, even in photos fans thought nothing of at the time. Her name? Well, it's been whispered but not confirmed, and that's exactly how TLC wants it. But sources close to the Browns describe her as a quiet, devoted follower of the AUB community, the same group Kody once used to justify his polygamy. But here's the kicker. She's not new to Kody. She's connected to Robyn. That's right. Years before this so-called secret wife came into the picture, she was friends with Robyn's extended family. The two attended similar church circles, and more than one person says Robyn actually introduced her to Kody, long before anyone thought she'd become the next wife. Now, before we get into conspiracy territory, let's be clear. TLC knows exactly how damaging this would look. A new wife, introduced by Robyn, right as ratings were dipping, and fans were calling for accountability. That's not just bad PR, that's a storyline that could blow up everything. Music rises slightly, dramatic pause. So, what did TLC do? They cut her out, completely. A number of insiders report that when editing season 19, scenes featuring this woman were filmed, her popping up at family events, background shots in confessionals, and then, poof, edited, removed, wiped clean. Why? Because, according to a production assistant, Kody was instructed not to speak about her on camera. And that's when things started getting strange. As time went on, Robyn's interviews became more defensive. She cried more, spoke less, and repeated the same line. We just want privacy. Meanwhile, Mary made posts with cryptic messages saying that some truths will come to light. And Christine? Christine looked free. But when asked if Kody was seeing someone, she smiled, paused, and said, "You'll have to ask him." That one line, besties, that pause, told the whole story. Softer tone. Behind the scenes, Kody wasn't just rebuilding, he was recruiting. This new wife represented everything he missed: obedience, admiration, control. She believed his version of the story, the one in which he was the victim, the misunderstood husband, the man who just wanted love, and she bought it, totally, until recently. Well, because now, new information indicates that she's begun to see who Kody really is, and it is sending shockwaves through what is left of the Brown family dynamic. You think Christine's exit was messy? Wait until you hear what happens when this woman decides to speak out. All right, besties. This is where the story takes a turn, because the truth about Kody's new wife didn't leak from some tabloid or an insider at TLC. It slipped out by accident. And that's what makes it so much more believable. Picture this, a quiet afternoon in Flagstaff, Arizona. A fan spots Kody at a local cafe. Nothing new, right? He's alone, sunglasses on, trying to look like he's not Kody Brown. But then, someone sits down across from him. Not Robyn, not a producer, a woman. She's calm, younger than the other wives, with that same soft-spoken confidence Christine used to have, before Kody drained it out of her. The fan took a photo, posted it to Reddit with a simple caption, "Pretty sure I just saw Kody Brown with his new wife." Within hours, it explodes. TLC moderators scramble to delete threads. Posts vanish. Subreddits go private. And then, one screenshot lives. One single image. Fans zoom in, analyze, cross-reference her jewelry, her hair, her car, everything. And that's when someone connects the dots. That car? It's registered under the same Arizona address that's linked to a woman Kody once did business with during the Coyote Pass property fiasco. Yeah, it's not random. This woman didn't fall into Kody's orbit by accident. She was there, filing property forms, filling out the financial forms, and allegedly being a consultant on his so-called rebuilding plans. But here's where it gets darker. An insider claims Kody started seeing her in private towards the end of his marriage to Janelle. At the time, he told producers he was getting spiritual guidance. What he didn't say was the guidance was coming from her. Music builds, narrator's tone sharpens. Within a few months, she stops appearing publicly. No social media, no LinkedIn, no online footprint. TLC, quiet. Kody? Suddenly, busy focusing on faith and family. It all looked like a reset, and until this woman's best friend broke her silence. In one leaked message, she wrote, "I warned her. I told her he'll use your devotion against you, but she said she was in love and that Kody promised her he'd make it." Right when the cameras stopped, that one message confirmed everything fans suspected. This wasn't A-fling. This wasn't a storyline. That was a new marriage, off the books, under the radar, and intentionally hidden. And the kicker? TLC found out. Producers confronted Kody in private, not because they cared about his personal life, but because legal contracts with TLC forbid undisclosed relationships that could alter family portrayals. Kody panicked. This show was his last paycheck, and so he made the woman disappear, at least publicly. But as we find out in the second part, she didn't remain silent. She started talking. She began to write. And what she revealed about Kody, about his manipulation, about how he used spiritual language to control her, is darker than anything we've ever seen on Sister Wives. Besties, this is where everything starts unraveling, not just for Kody, but for the entire story TLC tried keeping quiet. Finally, Kody's secret wife spoke up because the woman fans were calling. Not in an interview, not on social media, but in a quiet handwritten letter to someone she thought she could trust. That letter was never intended to be public, but like every secret in Kody Brown's world, it didn't remain buried for long. And what she wrote changes everything. Music deepens, narrator tone softens. When I met Kody, he told me that he had been misunderstood, that the women he loved had turned against him. He said all he wanted was someone to believe in him again, to help him rebuild his family, his faith, and his reputation. At first, she did believe him. He told her he'd been wronged. He told her Christine had betrayed his loyalty, that Janelle had left without reason, that Mary had lost her faith. And she believed every word, because that's what Kody does. He makes you feel sorry for him. He said I reminded him of how things used to be, before the show. Before the fame, he said I had a pure heart, and that's all he ever wanted. But it didn't take long before the truth made itself known. Dramatic pause. When speaking privately, she characterized Kody as being controlling, paranoid, and obsessed with his public image. He would talk for hours about how unfair the network was, how the wives twisted his words, and how everyone, including the audience, had turned him into a villain. He would talk about Christine for hours, she wrote. He said she had humiliated him on national television and that he'd never forgive her for walking away. And that's the moment it clicked for her. This was not a man looking for love. This was a man searching for anyone to legitimize his bitterness. Music builds softly, narrator tone lowers. She says that Kody's obsession with control grew worse after their spiritual marriage ceremony. He then reportedly told her that she could not tell anyone, including her own family, because TLC wouldn't understand. He called it their secret sanctity, but to her it began to feel more like a prison. I realized he didn't want a partner, he wanted an audience. Those words, besties, they hit hard, because that's been the pattern all along, hasn't it? Christine saw it. Janelle saw it. Mary saw it. And now even this new woman saw it too. Music becomes more intense. Tone sharpens. But the most chilling part? She wrote that Kody told her he'd fix everything by making a comeback, not as a husband, but as a teacher of truth. He was planning to relaunch his image through online sermons and a self-produced documentary. He wanted to prove he was the real victim. But when TLC learned that his so-called teacher project included his new spiritual wife, the network went into full crisis mode. They pulled footage. They suspended production on his solo scenes. And insiders claim the network's legal department began quietly rewriting contracts, just in case this whole story exploded. Soft piano tone fades in. The sad thing is that this woman, trying to help Kody heal, has now become just another casualty of his ego war. Now she's left with the same pain Christine once described, that which follows upon the realization that the man you thought was your soulmate. Never wanted to be loved, only obeyed. But besties, this story isn't done, because right when Kody thought he had it buried, someone close to him leaked something, even bigger, a message that ties Kody's secret marriage directly to money, manipulation, and TLC's silence. And that message? It's the one that could end everything. Besties, this is it, the end of Kody's illusion. For no matter how he had tried to bury it, the truth has a way of finding its way. In recent weeks, the woman who was supposed to be silenced by TLC's lawsuit has finally started to speak out. No network scripts, no producers, just her words raw, honest, and heartbreaking. She said, Kody told me he wanted a new beginning. But what he really wanted was a mirror. And that, besties, might be the truest thing anyone has ever said about him, because everything Kody touches has to reflect himself. His control, his ego, his image. But this time the mirror cracked, and the reflection staring back at him wasn't admiration anymore. It was regret. It was anger. It was the truth. Music rises, dramatic. Now there are rumors that TLC is holding emergency meetings to decide whether they'll renew Sister Wives at all. Because if the truth about this new wife officially leaks, it's not just a scandal. It's a franchise killer. And Robyn? Sources say she's terrified, not just of losing the show, but of losing the last bit of control she has over Kody's narrative. Because once that truth goes public, it won't just be the fans turning against him. It'll be the network. Christine, Janelle, and Mary watch in silence, perhaps waiting for something. Because for once, they don't have to speak. Kody's actions are doing all the talking. And besties, the whispers coming out of Flagstaff now are chilling. There's talk of a second woman. Someone who's seen too much. Someone Kody never expected to come forward. Music drops, quiet moment. If that's true, it isn't over. It's only just beginning. Soft inhale. So ask yourself, if Kody was truly the good man he claims to be, why is everyone who knows him either silent, gone, or afraid to speak? What happens when the next woman decides she's done being silent too? Music swells, ends in echo, because in Kody Brown's world, the truth never remains concealed. It just waits for the right moment to explode.